This is the Poco M4 Pro, the first Poco M series phone to bring an OLED display. This is a good enough reason to consider the regular M4 Pro over the 5G version if you don't need that sort of connectivity. But what else will you find here? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our full review. Recent Poco phones have brought an oversized camera island with a large Poco logo, and the M4 Pro has that same design. Ours is in phantom black, and the plastic back panel is overall quite glossy and dark. The M4 Pro is on the smaller side for its price segment, and it's also nicely light in the hand at 180 grams. The frame is made of plastic, and the flat sides provide plenty of grip. The fingerprint reader is on the side, integrated with the power button, and it's easy to reach and quite fast. The M4 Pro also has IP53 dust and splash resistance, and on the front, pretty slim bezels for this price bracket. The display is a 6.4-inch OLED with a Full HD resolution and Gorilla Glass 3 protection. There's also a 90Hz refresh rate and a 180Hz touch sampling rate. You should keep in mind that the M4 Pro's refresh rate isn't an adaptive one though. Still, as an OLED, the panel is one definite advantage the vanilla M4 Pro has over the 5G version of the phone, which has an IPS LCD. This screen is also brighter and goes up to around 740 nits in auto mode, which is a great result for this price range. Sadly, even though it's a great display, it doesn't support HDR. At least you get a Widevine L1 DRM certification for higher res content. On the top of the device, you'll see an IR blaster and a headphone jack, which is getting harder to find these days. The M4 Pro also has a stereo speaker setup for your audio. The speakers don't have equal loudness, but overall the phone scored very good on our loudness chart. It has similar sound quality to the M4 Pro 5G, but with better vocals and weaker bass. The M4 Pro comes with a 5000 mAh battery and a chipset that isn't too taxing, and as a result it scored an excellent 126 hours of endurance on our tests. And with the 33-watt charger, we charged the phone from 0 to 51% in half an hour. Solid, but nothing spectacular. The Poco M4 Pro has a MediaTek Helio G96 chipset. In benchmark tests, performance is similar to other phones in this category, even ranking higher than some competitors. In our thermal stress test, the M4 Pro did a pretty good job too. This isn't the most powerful hardware out there and not what you'd want for heavy gaming, but it's still good for the money. The phone's interface is Android 11 with MIUI 13 for Poco on top. You'll have largely the same highly customizable and snappy experience as other recent phones from the Xiaomi family. Poco's mainly differ in that you can't disable the app drawer and have your apps on the home screen. If you'd like more information about MIUI 13, we've made a video on it that goes more in depth. The Poco M4 Pro has a 64 megapixel main camera with phase detection autofocus, an 8 megapixel ultra-wide, and a 2 megapixel macro cam. It's actually a higher res, larger sensor main camera than what you'd find on the 5G version of the phone. During the day, the photos from the main cam were among the better ones for this class, with a lot of detail, very good dynamic range, and lively colors. There is some noise, but nothing deal-breaking. Portraits have good subject separation and are rendered well. The default background blur doesn't go overboard either, and shots look natural. The ultra-wide camera was surprisingly good. We had clean images with a lot of fine detail. Dynamic range was good enough too. The colors could be a bit livelier though. Close-up shots from the macro cam are unremarkable. The resolution is just too low to capture a lot of detail. In low light, photos from the main cam had a lot of noise, with some blown highlights, but generally they were handled well. Colors retained their saturation, and sharpness and detail were good. Switch on night mode and you'll have much more balanced highlights, brighter shadows, and lower midtones. There's more sharpening, a little more detail, but the colors can be a little inaccurate. It's a shame that the ultra-wide doesn't have night mode though, because it could really use it. Photos are soft, there's aggressive noise reduction, and they're much darker than we'd like. We like the front-facing camera's performance overall. Selfies are more detailed than on the 5G version of the phone, and the dynamic range and colors look nice. The Poco M4 Pro can shoot videos in only up to Full HD resolution. Footage from the main camera is not amazing, but it's not bad either. There's no noise and there's good detail, but simultaneously it looks overprocessed. Dynamic range could be better, and the colors are dull. The ultra-wide's colors are just as lacking as those from the main camera, but were slightly more accurate. The detail level is good, and we think that this footage is better than the ultra-wide footage on the 5G version of the phone. Stabilization works alright on the main camera, and while it doesn't smooth everything entirely, there's no focus hunting here, and the footage is nicely stable. So that's the Poco M4 Pro. It's a solid mid-range phone with some splash resistance, an excellent AMOLED, and fantastic battery life. We do wish it had slightly better camera performance or the latest Android 12, but nonetheless it is a good deal and worth recommending. Thanks for watching guys, stay safe and see you on the next one.